He was about to fire his entire team until the janitor's black son solved their $200 million crisis in 60 seconds. Lucent AI was in freefall. Their most ambitious project, a predictive engine promised to reshape military logistics, was crumbling fast. Every simulation failed. Predictions reversed. Learning models collapsed. They'd thrown in 17 engineers, 2 overpriced consulting firms, and over 72 sleepless hours. Nothing worked. And the deal on the line? Worth over $200 million. Inside the glass conference room, tension boiled. Executives screamed in hushed voices. One lead engineer actually cried. CEO Richard Lane, known for firing entire departments with a handshake and a smile, stood at the head of the table, silent. Then he spoke. "Fix this, or tomorrow you're all gone." No one dared argue. But at the back of the room, someone else had been listening, someone no one noticed. 10-year-old Malik Thomas sat on the floor beside a mop bucket, sipping a warm soda. His dad, Andre, the night janitor, was wiping the whiteboard clean. But Malik wasn't looking at the soda or his tablet. He was staring at the broken logic on the board. His head tilted, his eyes narrowed. And then, under his breath, he whispered, "They're teaching it like it's memorizing, but it's not. It's playing." Andre glanced at his son, confused. "What was that?" he whispered. Malik shrugged, already pulling a crumpled napkin from his hoodie pocket. He started sketching. Not doodles, loops, feedback trees, reinforcement phases, simplified in ways no adult in that room could have imagined. Andre tried to stop him. "Malik, come on, don't mess with their stuff." But before he could fold the napkin away, the door swung open. CEO Lane had returned to grab his tablet. He paused, noticing the boy scribbling something. "What's that?" he asked, his voice flat, maybe even irritated. Andre jumped to explain. "Sorry, sir. He just likes puzzles. He watches coding videos on YouTube, that's all." Lane walked over. Curious. He leaned down and squinted at the napkin. His eyes narrowed. He didn't speak. He just stared. Then he scanned the whiteboard behind him. His expression changed, like something clicked. "Can I borrow this?" he asked, holding up the napkin. Andre hesitated, but nodded. Lane walked it back into the room, uploaded the sketch into the simulator. The screen blinked. The system rebooted. And then, silence. Total silence. Until one engineer gasped. 27% accuracy gain, she whispered. "Drift's gone. It's stabilized." The room should have erupted in celebration, but instead, it froze. Someone scoffed. Another muttered, "No way, that's not possible." One of the senior architects, a Stanford PhD, stood up. "Random chance," he said sharply. "Glitch in the simulator. No way a kid's napkin sketch fixed what we've been grinding on for 6 months." CEO Lane didn't answer. He just stared at the data on screen. The improvement was undeniable. Real-time adaptability, stabilized pathways, a fix no adult in that room had even come close to. He turned to Andre and asked the question that shifted everything. "What's your son's name?" "Malik," Andre replied cautiously. Lane nodded, then looked back at the team. "Malik's joining us tomorrow. He'll observe." The room exploded. "You're inviting a janitor's son into proprietary model testing? He's 10. This is a security risk." But Lane didn't flinch. "Call it a field trip. Sit him in the back. Let him ask questions." Andre looked stunned. "I don't know if that's a good idea," he said. "He's just a kid, but Malik?" He smiled. Just a little. Because for the first time, someone powerful didn't tell him to stop. They told him to show up. The next morning, Malik arrived at Lucent AI, holding a backpack full of crayons, a notebook, and a half-finished game he coded on a borrowed laptop. Most of the team ignored him. A few offered fake smiles. One executive joked, "Make sure he doesn't touch anything expensive." But Malik didn't flinch. He took a seat in the corner of the model ops room, eyes wide, ears sharper than anyone realized. While the engineers argued over algorithmic flow, Malik began drawing again, not words, but shapes. Color-coded loops, a feedback game using red and blue blocks. When a junior dev noticed, he laughed. "You teaching AI how to play tag?" Malik didn't look up. "I'm teaching it how to stop guessing." The dev's smile faded. He took a second look and realized the pattern matched the very bug they'd been trying to isolate. By lunch, 2 more engineers had pulled up chairs near Malik. By 3 p.m., one of them had quietly integrated his block game concept into a subroutine. The model stabilized again. Not just by chance, but by logic. Simple, playful logic, from a kid who wasn't even supposed to be in the building. By day's end, Malik had unintentionally started a ripple. The engineers, the ones who mocked him that morning, were now hanging on his every scribble. Not openly, not with praise, but they lingered. Asked soft questions. Watched his hands as he used crayons to explain error loops in a way no one else had. "It's not failing," Malik said at one point. "It's just too scared to be wrong. So it stops trying." The room went silent. An engineer whispered, "That's actually not far off." CEO Lane returned mid-afternoon to find 3 team leads cross-referencing Malik's notes. One even ran a full sim using Malik's toy-inspired logic tree. The system's predictive range increased again by nearly 12%. The data didn't lie, but neither did the discomfort. Word had spread. And not everyone was impressed. Behind closed doors, board members were furious. "You've let a child compromise our IP? What if this leaks to the press? He's the janitor's kid. We'll be a joke." But Lane ignored them, because what he saw wasn't a liability. It was a once-in-a-generation mind, one the world wasn't ready for, but couldn't afford to ignore. The breakthrough couldn't stay hidden for long. Someone leaked a screenshot Malik, sitting on the floor beside a wall of code, a crayon in one hand, a laptop open on his knees. The headline hit within hours: "Janitor's son solves 200M AI crisis." It went viral. The board panicked. Investors called. Legal drafted memos. The PR team begged Lane to shut it down. "We look desperate," one exec hissed. "This makes us look like a circus." But the engineers, they knew the truth. Malik wasn't lucky. He wasn't guessing. He was seeing structures they had been trained to ignore. That afternoon, Lane called an all-hands meeting. Andre stood at the back, arms folded, unsure whether to be proud or terrified. Malik sat beside him, quiet as always. Lane took the mic. "There's been a lot of noise. So let me be clear. Malik isn't just welcome here. He's earned his place here." The room erupted. Except for one man, VP of Systems, Carter Bell, the one who'd led the failing model for 6 months, didn't clap. He didn't speak, but the way he looked at Malik, that was a warning. Carter Bell was the kind of executive who smiled through his teeth and collected credit like oxygen. Watching a 10-year-old outperform him while the entire team leaned in was unbearable. That night, long after most had left, Carter accessed the core logs. He flagged Malik's input trees as external contamination, labeling them as unauthorized experimental data. Quietly, he submitted a formal request to scrub them from the model, citing security integrity and non-vetted sources. But Andre, staying late to finish cleaning, caught a glimpse of Carter at Malik's desk. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice polite but sharp. Carter didn't flinch. "Just checking something. No need to worry." Andre didn't buy it. The next morning, Malik arrived early and his work was gone. His loops, his variables, wiped clean. Malik stared at the screen for a full minute. No panic, no tears, just focus. He turned to a nearby whiteboard and began again. But this time, he didn't just draw the patterns, he explained them out loud. One by one, the engineers gathered around, listening, taking notes, recording. By noon, they weren't defending him anymore. They were following him. Malik stood in front of the whiteboard, barely tall enough to reach the top, sketching loops while explaining reinforcement decay like he was teaching kindergarten. "The model's not broken," he said. "It's just confused. You gave it memory but no trust. It needs a game, not a lecture." An engineer pulled out their phone to record. Then another. Then a senior developer asked Malik to walk them through one of the failure branches again, this time using only crayons and building blocks. He did, and it worked. The model that had failed 3 government audits, it stabilized. On every run. The room, once full of skeptics, had become a classroom. And Malik wasn't a guest anymore, he was the one setting the pace. Meanwhile, upstairs, the board was in full crisis mode. Media vans were circling. Investors wanted statements. One executive warned Lane, "If we let this story spread, we lose control of the narrative. He's not even old enough to legally work here." Lane didn't blink. "Then we change the rules," he said. But deep down, he knew the real threat wasn't Malik's age. It was how quickly the world was realizing who really built this breakthrough. The next day, a press request turned into a press frenzy. Reporters wanted to meet the janitor's genius son. Tech blogs were calling it the future of AI in a hoodie. But behind the cameras, pressure mounted. The board called an emergency session. Their message was blunt: discredit the story or lose investor confidence. Say the kid's input was accidental. Say it corrupted the model. Say anything, just bury this. Lane was cornered. The safe move was silence. But that night, something changed. He visited Andre and Malik at their apartment, small, cluttered, a secondhand PC on the table next to a stack of puzzle books. Malik was building again. Not code. A toy model of his feedback loop using Legos and action figures. Lane watched, stunned. "You understand things we're just starting to see," he said. Malik shrugged. "I just like patterns." Lane didn't sleep that night. And the next morning, instead of a press release, he held a press conference. But he didn't speak. He introduced Malik, gave him the mic, and stood back as a 10-year-old explained machine learning using crayons, toys, and language even the media couldn't twist. Malik didn't just speak, he taught. With calm confidence and zero ego, he showed the world what every expert in that room had missed. The heart of learning isn't control, it's curiosity. He used toys to explain model drift, drew feedback loops in sidewalk chalk, and ended with a game he built at home that mirrored Lucent AI's breakthrough structure. The press called him a prodigy. Investors tripled their bids. Clients who had ghosted the company days earlier now demanded meetings. And the board? Silenced. Because Malik didn't just save their deal, he made them look obsolete. Lane didn't just keep his job, he launched a new initiative. Lucent Lab, a mentorship pipeline for underrepresented youth in AI. Its youngest founding voice? Malik Thomas. Andre was promoted to facilities systems lead, with full benefits and a say in campus redesign. And in the final scene, Malik stood at the front of a new intern class, all older than him, all watching him closely, notebooks open. One wore a tailored suit that probably cost more than Andre's car. But Malik didn't care. He just smiled, pointed to the board, and said, "Let's play." If that ending gave you chills, hit subscribe because stories like Malik's deserve to be seen, not silenced.